After 3 days, he said, this, just watching how you guys used AI was worth the trip by itself, not to mention the fact that you created a new business for me.
ADD has some advantages in itself, but ADD times AI is really a multiplier.
And I told it to come up with a workout schedule for a 56-year-old male, 185 pounds, who wants to gain muscle as fast as possible. Give me the best workout and the best diet. Boop, spit out a complete thing.
This is Dan Sullivan, and I'm here on our podcast, Capability Amplifier, with my unpredictable and distractible partner, Mike Koenigs. And Mike, before we came on, you dropped another new productivity technology on me, like you so often do. But this one I had some warning because the team leader for my tech department here at Strategic Coach filled me in yesterday, and I've never seen him this excited about anything. And I think that what you're going to tell us about how you've already used this technology is going to totally justify his enthusiasm, because I think this is a big one.
It is, and it is, well, you said it, ADD plus AI plus Adderall equals the ultimate capability amplifier. And the short version of what you'll find out in this episode is I used this tool yesterday with a client, and we produced an entire website, all the content, in a half a day. And it normally would have probably taken about 3 weeks of work and labor to do. So this could very well be the ultimate productivity enhancer in a major game changer for anyone who wants to create content. And in the end, we're going to have this thing write Dan Sullivan's biography in the voice of Donald Trump and then in the voice of Joe Biden. And you get to witness all that. So this is going to be a super fun, upbeat, fun episode. Right, Dan?
Yeah. I think the thing that you want to do is give each of them a little bit more coaching. Trump needed no coaching, but I think Biden needed a little bit more coaching because it was very, very well spoken. So I think he needs some modifications.
Yeah, we need to add a little more cartoon, a little more hilarity. We could have done it funny. And just think about the fabulous jokes about lemonade he would have added there. Lemonade and squirrels or whatever. But anyway, it's pretty fun. It's pretty fun. So make sure you watch to the very, very end. Dan, you and I, before we start rolling, we're talking about GPT-3, which is all the rage right now. It's the latest chatbot from OpenAI. Originally, Elon was actually involved with this. He got rid of it because he thought they were up to no good, honestly. But this new GPT chatbot is incredibly powerful. You can go in and, for example, right before we began, I'll share my screen, and for people who are listening, I just typed in, write a biography for Dan Sullivan, founder of Strategic Coach, and boom, it turned out something that is actually pretty accurate. I've been using it for the past few days. Yesterday, I worked with a client, and we created a brand new brand, wrote all the copy, all the content for his website. We, I call it Frankenstein. We Frankenstein 3 other companies who are competitors, their content. I fed it into this engine, and it spit out completely original hybridized content. And we produced an entire brand in 1.5 day. I would say we probably saved ourselves about 2.5 weeks. And so he's going to be able to launch a completely new company in the space of longevity and life extension in less than a month, and be taking business as a result of that. I basically told my team, if everyone in my company uses this, we're going to, anything involving communications, content creation, this will save at least 75% to 80% of our time. You said something very, very interesting, which is the however side of this. And what was that?
Well, I believe, I believe in Moore's Law, which is, it's what produces AI now. because it's the speed of microchip progression that's been going on since it was first pointed out in 1965, and it's been pretty accurate how fast microchip empowered technologies increase. But I also believe in Newton's law, and this is Isaac Newton, who created the three laws of dynamics of how the universe works. And his third law is for every action, there's an opposite and equal reaction.
Yep.
Okay. So when you empower and this is a capability amplifier. So the title of our podcast is very much apt for, I believe, and I've gotten the fill-in from my tech team leader, and he sat down and he said, this changes the world, and he was very, very excited about it for about 15 or 20 minutes. And I said, I think you're specifically true, Glenn, because it just changed your world. But the world's big place, got 8 billion people, and they're busy, and maybe it won't change all of them right away. But I think people who are already focused and opportunist and strategic, it will multiply their power, you being one of them, Mike, and people who are looking for the meaning of life won't find it by using this tool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So here's what happened. I'm going to say absolutely, and I want you to comment too on the relationship between social media and it. So here I'm going to give you 3 distinctions. First of all, this thing gained over 1 million users in under a week, which is pretty significant for any tool. I had heard that it outpaced almost any other tech platform that Silicon Valley had ever produced in the past in terms of the volume of users. Now, it's only been maybe 2 weeks since it, as of right now when we're recording this. And the number of people using it, including a bunch of people in the strategic coach community, are finding that you can feed it recipes. You can say, I want you to act like a travel agent, or I want you to act as a therapist or dietitian. So I grabbed a little blob of code. They call them recipes. You paste it in. And then I told it to come up with a workout schedule for a 56-year-old male, 185 pounds, who wants to gain muscle as fast as possible. Give me the best workout and the best diet. Boop, spit out a complete thing. And if you don't like what it says, or it doesn't have enough detail, you tell it, change this and include something. And it contextually is smart enough to go back. It understands the context of a conversation. So here's what I believe we'll see is people who sit around working minimum wage jobs and look at cat videos all day are going to never use this, or they're going to say, hey, tell me a stupid joke about blah, blah, blah. In other words, instead of acting as a creator, they're going to continue being a consumer. And I believe the consumer mentality is what keeps you ignorant and poor. And so you said something along the lines of, for stupid people, this will just make them stupider. And maybe that's a little harsh, but
I think it'll multiply the number of stupid activities they can involve themselves in.
That's good. That's very good. Yeah.
And I think for smart people, it'll multiply the number of smart projects that they can take on and complete. So I think it instantly creates massively greater inequality of capability in the world.
That is absolutely true. I was thinking about all the things that this is going to replace. First, you said something about college. What's your prediction for college based upon looking at this?
Well, my take on college is that it's cold storage for bodies between 18 and 22. And what you're trying to do is indicate that you can hire this person because they've proven that they can stick with something that's really boring for 4 years, through to the point where they can get a certificate that tells them that they completed their higher education in boredom. Okay. Mm-hmm. The real stuff that's interesting in their life is what they do on their iPhone and their on the internet before they go to class and what they do on weekends and later in the day. So my sense is that, first of all, they're not even being taught by professors anymore. They're being taught by graduate students, and they're cramming as many of them into a classroom as possible. Mm-hmm. But my sense is that, just based on my interaction with other chatbots, which are AI empowered, that this new GPT, I think, has instantly far more accurate references to any question that a student could ask than the vast majority of college professors. I think that because it has the entire internet as at its fingertips, and first of all, it doesn't have any preferences or biases. I mean, there's nothing intentional about the technology. It just responds to what you do. But the more users who utilize and interact with it, just like Google, or just that the amount of material keeps building up. So other people who have asked about Shakespeare, they now have 1,000 different questions about Shakespeare, and the bot's inventory of Shakespeare-related stuff constantly grows. So my feeling is that my sense of an educated person is not that they have the answers, but they have really great questions, and they know they know how to interact with life in order to get the answers to their questions. And this seems to me to be a tremendous multiplier in terms of useful information that is directly related to your question.
Yeah. I think that's the answer I was looking for, the very last segment, which is this. The distinction is a combination of knowing what questions to ask and also curiosity. So I was, again, thinking through the lens of right now, how do I increase the capabilities of my team and my business without adding more bodies? In fact, having fewer is good because smaller teams are more efficient. And the distinction will be, how effectively are they using this tool? So I'll give you a practical example of something I did earlier this week. I just came out with this new book, Your Next Act. Okay. And one of the things that you need to do whenever you get put out a new book is you need to get as many book reviews done as possible. And I was like, okay, and of course, I also wanted to reach out to as many people as I could. And normally what I do is I'd write a letter. I would say, hey, so-and-so, would you buy my book and write a review? And of course, that letter had to be read. And normally I'd have to create the specs and say, here are all the things I want. And I might create an order and send it to my one of my staff writers, or I'd do it myself. It's just a matter of time efficiency, right? But one of the things that prevents people from actually doing that, they'd say, hey, I bought your book, Mike, but then they don't write the review. Why? Because writing a book review is a pain in the ass. It takes too long. So what I did is I told ChatGPT, write a outbound email to people who know Mike Koenigs, asking them to buy a copy of the Next Act book. I put the link in there. Here's a link to the book. And then ask them to blah, blah, blah. So the result of this, and what I'm going to show you, Dan, I'll read a little bit of it, but it wrote, I'd say within 95% accuracy, this outbound note. And then I also said, write 20 Amazon book reviews for the book, Your Next Act, which it basically wrote reviews. And in my outbound email, I basically tell people, just copy one of these, personalize it a little bit, and paste it. And then but that's what the email ended up doing. So the point being, like, if I would have honed this and done it manually, it probably would have been an hour and a half of work, which cut down into 15 minutes. So here's what I love about this. Now I can assign like with a voice message to a team member, 3, 4, 5, or 10 money-making messages, and say, start with ChatGPT and modify it a little bit. And again, put into the right hands, someone with less education who doesn't have to be a great copywriter, maybe a better proofreader, can do this. But this thing can write 3 variations that then can be Frankenstein together. And if you're smart, you can tell the system to do that for you. It's that powerful. So getting back to what you're saying, I think A, yes, asking great questions, B, being curious, and C, sometimes expanding your mind to think about more possibilities is hard, because prior to this, we didn't have the tools, we didn't have the time. This is a time machine for people who are curious and expansive minded. And also, it frees us from so many limitations, because you can have it do an enormous amount of research quickly. And there's already some variations of this tool that are being built right now that do lots and lots of other specialized things. So I felt like I rambled there towards the end, but I'd like to go back to that.
I'd like to go back to the topic of inequality. And it's very, very interesting. There's a book called Information. It's just called Information. I think it's called The Information. And
I'll look it up.
The author's name kind of escapes me right now. Because you've got me close to 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and the sharpness of my
James Glick.
James Glick.
Theory of Flood. Yeah, I got it. Yeah. I'll put it in show notes.
So he points out an interesting thing about why Greek philosophy has such an impact on the world. Aristotle. And he said it has a lot to do with the fact that which cultures in the Middle East adapted the alphabet first, and Greek was one of the first countries that had an alphabet. An alphabet being that you have a set number of symbols and you have a set number of sounds, and it wasn't that way up until about 800 BC. There weren't alphabets. They were like hieroglyphics in the Egyptian pyramids, or they were like Chinese ideograms. To be literate, you had to know 2,000 of them. But once you have the alphabet, in English, it's 26 letters and it's 43 sounds. And if you grasp it, you have an amazing power for teaching and learning and discovering information. And it coincided right at the time, and there was a Greek alphabet, and it coincided right when the time when the Greek states were kind of forming politically and everything else. And so they were the first ones to really communicate widely through an alphabet, and their culture, Greek culture, still is one of the greatest influences in the world. When we talk about mathematics, when we talk about, philosophy, when we talk about politics, you're always going back to people who were writing about this 2,500 years ago. Dramatists, tragedies, histories, and everything. And they just made a huge impact. Today, the dominant culture in the world is American culture, and the dominant the dominant language in the world is the English language. This will make the domination of American culture and the English language cosmically overwhelming, not just because the first million people to use this were English speakers. Yeah. And what they were going after were things that are already, within the English language knowledge base. And so my sense is this is an immediate game changer on the geopolitical level.
That's really interesting. Well, let's take that a step further, because here's something else that we didn't talk about specifically in our last episode when we talked about AI, but some of the ways that this is going to affect anyone is already there were variations of this that we're doing. We talked about it last time. Midsummer, Dolly will create any kind of a graphic image. So you give it a command, and it's a text command, and boom, it spits it out. One of the things that I did, it was Vivian's birthday, and I said, write a poem to Vivian Glick about, and I basically put a couple bullets about how we met, where we met, when we met. And, we got married 22 years ago. We met in Greece. I proposed on the Eiffel Tower on my knee. We have a son who's 20 years old, da-da-da-da-da. I sped that in. I said, and write this poem in the form of Keats. Okay. So it spit out a poem as though it was written by them. And then I said, write a song as though it was written by Bono from U2. And it wrote a full song about our life. And it was amazing. And there was one thing that I said, and correct this, rewrite it again, but correct this. It was a little statement, and boom, it changed it again. It understood the context. And there are folks already who have not only been writing the lyrics, but of course now there's deep fake audio. There's also music. And creatives, for example, are terrified of this thing because although this isn't creative, what it allows you to do is iterate rapidly.
Well, I think that's the big thing. I'm a trained artist. I'm a trained graphic artist, and I was an advertising layout person. And all the tools in the strategic coach, I do all the layouts for everything. And I still use, tracing paper to do the original sketch, and then I send it off to my artist, and it comes back in InDesign, and
yes,
it's all laid out, and we have a set of rules, about colors and structure of layouts, and I have about 17 different layout models, and I can just, and I can immediately do a new tool, and I just download one of the layout models, and then I just put new type into it and I send it out. And every once in a while I come up with a new layout idea, and then that enters the inventory. So one of the things about this is that the only difference between an amateur artist and a layout artist is tracing paper.
Oh.
That basically artists, there's a...
when you say that, do you mean a framework?
Yeah, but what professional artists have is that they just have a lot of frameworks. But in the old days, when it was pen and ink and it was, pencil, is that you do a first drawing and then you'd slip it under the tracing paper, and then you'd refine it, and then you'd slip the second one under the third until you get to 9 and 10. And by 9 and 10, it looked really great, and then you could devote efforts to turning it into finished artwork. So I worked in an ad agency in the 1970s, and they didn't have any of the stuff that you're talking about today. But it is the iterations that make you the difference between an amateur and a professional. And I was reading a murder mystery story once, and one of the characters said the difference between an amateur and a professional is that an amateur practices until they get it right, and a professional practices until they can't get it wrong. And think of our own work. How many times? I mean, the next act. How many people have gone through the next act 3-day process right now?
Yeah.
And you're how speedily and surely, with great certainty, you go through it now as opposed to the first time.
Yeah. Yeah, it's we
now
have no
you're adding
failure
other
points.
tools. This is a great additional tool, because part of the next act thing is that you get written copy. You get you get complete websites. You get your marketing differentiation copy, and that takes time. But you just reduce that by a remarkable. By a order, it's a difference of order. It's 10 times
easily. And I'll give you an example of one we did. yesterday, or actually this one wasn't yesterday, it was a couple days ago. I was with another client, and we had just he used a Tom Brady reference, like a metaphor in his marketing, and we had temporarily put a commercial photo of Tom Brady making throwing a football. And I was like, hey guys, we can't get caught using that, putting that on the website. That'll get flagged by one of the bots that sends you the send us $20,000 or we're going to sue you, scumbag attorneys. And so what we did is I said, draw a picture of Tom Brady about to throw a touchdown pass in front of a large audience with the field goal post behind him, and boom, in 5 minutes I had a original. Oh yeah, and I said in the style of Pixar. So I got this stylistic image that is royalty free. Boop, popped it right on the website. So. And now we're also, like, during a conversation, I'll have a founder describe what they want, and that'll be fed in, and boom, the copy's written. And what I found yesterday with one of the guys we were working with, he was so blown away. After 3 days, he said, just watching how you guys used AI was worth the trip by itself, not to mention the fact that you created a new business for me. That wasn't the value. It's seeing this and witnessing how it was used. And that left a huge impact on me.
There's a huge inequality, Mike, that I just thought of specifically related to you. That ADD has some advantages in itself, but ADD times AI is really a multiplier.
Oh, you just came up with the title of this podcast episode, which is ADD times AI is the ultimate capability amplifier.
Well, I would say ADD times AI over Adderall. Because you got to control this process. There's got to be some governance of the process, and want to see my these are my little blue pills here.
Oh, look at you.
Yeah, I don't munch.
Man with the med.
You got to be careful not to munch them. Just take it a hand.
Yeah. Oh my God, yeah. That's a buddy of mine told me he went and bought some chocolate covered coffee beans, and he ate like 2 or 3 while he was on the phone at 9 p.m. And then once he realized he had eaten half the bag.
You got to be careful. But I agree with Joe Polish. He said, the problem with talking about addictions is that they keep talking about it as a problem. Addictions are actually a solution, but if you overdose on them, they can become a problem. The problem why people are addicted is much worse than the addiction.
You're right. Well, this is.
Well, I think that I'm total buyer. I remember interview I watched on television was with Gary Kasparov, who was the first grandmaster who was defeated by an AI program.
Yes.
Watson, which was an IBM supercomputer. So he said, was that the end then of grandmaster? And he says, no. He says a whole bunch of us got together about 6 months later who were used to competing against each other. And we all agreed that we would choose our favorite supercomputer as an assistant, and we would just start a league at the level of grandmaster with AI. And I think the same thing happens right here, that if you're really great at what you do and you got some wits about you, you're just going to take this and you're going to take you're going to take your game to a higher level, and for a while that'll put you way ahead of other people who would be competitors because they'll be slow in the uptake, and you'll just outproduce them.
Yeah,
and it's it's an amazing productivity tool,
Yeah, and the distinction, what makes it productive, is your ability in real time to know how to create a capability amplifier. So I'm going to give you an example. So I'm going to build on top of your chess example, and I'm going to speculate a little bit. But not long ago, there was a big deal about a chess master who got caught cheating, and the belief was that he had a spotter watching the game, and he had some sort of a thing shoved in his anus that would signal what to do.
Vibrate.
Yeah, a little vibrating. So let's just call it a butt vibrator.
Might get a little extra thrill out of the whole.
Yeah, exactly. They sell those. They're like iPhone controlled vibrators, apparently. Anyway, staying straight on target here, keeping this rated G. So really, that is a version of cyborgism. So in this particular case, Chessmaster cheats by having a spotter signal to him with an enhanced body part. Now, what we're very close to having is augmented reality glasses. I actually ordered a pair from a company, and I couldn't get it to work. And I was like, my time's too valuable. Screw this thing. I'm going to wait for the Apple ones to come out, which pretty soon the new augmented reality glasses will be the equivalent of multiple 8K displays projected about 100 inches in front of you, which means you won't need monitors anymore, and you'll have substantially more information, but you'll also be able to see the real world. And the processors in these things could be running a personal GPT chatbot that signals to you, and instead of having a human who's, in this particular case, watching your chess game against another player and telling you what to do, you'll have a chatbot that you have prioritized what to pay attention to. Now, some of them can be survival stuff, which is make sure you don't hit that car, idiot. Hey, this is Mike Koenigs. Sorry to interrupt the podcast, but if you're an action taker and ready to transform and reinvent yourself and your business, go to connect2mike.com to learn more and book a conversation with me right now. All right, back to the episode. All the way to looking around for people that'll enhance our capabilities as humans. And also, we can literally have eyes behind our heads.
Yeah.
And better listening and stuff that pays attention to frequencies that our bodies can't pay attention to, and be able to visualize it and stack it on top of our eyesight. So the number of specialized bots that combine data, and again, I'll give you an example of some real life. I was listening to a podcast called All In. It's Jason Calacanis, a couple of big Silicon Valley nerds. And they said, the next big thing that's going to come out of Silicon Valley right now is combining data that we haven't thought of combining before and adding AI to it. But I would also say that the other next big thing is combining big data with tables and volumes of intelligence with real-time augmented reality chatbots and probably cyborg enhancements, right? But one of the nice things about putting all this together is we can bring stuff that we can't see or hear or feel or taste or touch into a format that we can deal with right now. That's until we, of course, have direct neural implants, but I think I'm going to avoid that upgrade.
Yeah, it's really interesting, but the bandwidth that humans have today is no greater than the Greeks had in 800. That right. the human brain can only focus on one thought at a time, and that's a bandwidth. Okay, that's a bandwidth issue, and the notion of that we can think 5 thoughts at a time is fanciful. It's against the laws of physics. It's against the laws of physics. So my sense is that the ability to know what you want and the ability to focus and the ability to ignore everything except what you are interested in is still a principal game winner in human affairs. And for example, they find that 50-year-olds who are used to using the computer are incredibly more effective at searches than 20-year-olds. Okay?
Yes.
And the reason is that by 50, you've narrowed down your field of interest, that you're only interested in certain things, where 20-year-olds, they still don't know what their central focus is in life, and therefore everything's a possibility. Okay, so I'm incredibly more concentrated and focused at 78 than I was at 58, than I was at 38, than I was at 18. And, my life gets slower and life gets simpler, even though my productivity has gone through the roof.
Yes.
And that there's so much that I'm not interested in that and doesn't take up any time.
Right. I've noticed the same thing. The honest God truth is I've been modeling you in that, and my life has gotten considerably better because simpler and fewer does not mean less. Yeah. So I have an idea for you. When you talked about the notion of bandwidth and us being able to only focus on one thing, I think there's one concept I want to run by you and get your feedback on, which is this. It's symbology. So think about it. I remember I went to Egypt a little over 20 years ago, and an Egyptologist was teaching us, how Egyptian language worked. And then he talked about an Egyptian word, which I don't know if I don't think they figured out what Egyptian sounded like, but they know the symbols.
No,
and then, basically the Greeks kind of stole some Egyptian, came up with their own language, and then the Romans created a derivative work, and then there's Latin, and then of course English, et cetera, et cetera. And basically this guy started going through a concept and the words and how they've evolved over time. And if you think about it now, let's say you had an iPhone and you showed it to an Egyptian and you had to describe what it was, how long that would take, because there's a whole bunch of stacked concepts that require, it's like, and now we communicate in memes, right? It's sort of like when emojis came along, now they're stacked emotions, like our symbols are describing more complex things. And one thing I notice about Zach and his friends, they can communicate very complex ideas using a picture or a word. And so I do think that our ability to communicate a lot more stuff in a shorter period of time with a new symbol is changing the bandwidth equation. So what are your thoughts on that? And
well, I think we all do that. And if you just take your 3-day process, you've got a shorthand with your team now. I mean, first of all, the first time you went through it, first of all, they had to learn how to do the activity itself. And you had a long way of describing to the client what you were going to do. And if you compare, if you have a record of your first time through and your last time through, it's compacted down. It's almost like the microchip. You're getting more and more really powerful, important information in the same period of time. You've doubled the amount of useful information in the same period of time. The same thing's happening in Coach. So, I did my last scheduled 10 times workshop last Friday. Last Friday. No,
congratulations.
Actually,
Dan Sullivan.
it was Tuesday. It was Tuesday. Tuesday was the last one, just 3 days ago. And now we have 5 coaches who are taking over my complete schedule, and then they'll be completely in charge. And I spend absolutely zero time actually enacting that takeover, because I have a team that knows all the tools, they know all the schedules, they know how to put things together, and they did the complete transition over. And I'm continuing with the two-hour Zoom calls, but I'm just going to use it for creating new tools throughout 23, so that there's, several dozen new tools that they have available to them that they can keep feeding the process. So there's still innovation at the front of it. Well, that's quite a quantum leap from my very first full day workshop back in 1989, when I went through about 10 glasses of ice water in the day. And Bab said, we got to make sure that you pee, at regular regular periods. I mean, it was exciting, but I was very, very nervous because I didn't know the form, I didn't know the structure. How do you keep them interested and engaged for 7 hours and everything else, And I had 6 people in the room, and I thought I had died and gone to heaven. You could do that many people and everything like that, But I mean, we're productivity means faster, easier, cheaper, bigger. I mean, and what you're describing is a quantum force productivity enhancer, but only for people who are already productive.
Yes, and that I think can be. So here's an opportunity.
Here's another. Go ahead. Add something to that?
Do that.
People who are really great at interacting with other human beings will be really great at interacting with this medium.
Yes. And I'm
just trying to make the two of us feel good.
Yeah. Well, here's another way to feel good, which is imagine having a augmented capability coach. Okay. What an opportunity for someone who walks in and can promise and deliver on the notion, I will make you 3 to 10 times more productive. Yeah. So you can get more done in less time and work less. So you've got more free days. Mm-hmm. And we're going to do that using these new technologies. Mm-hmm. I'm going to give you the recipes and tools and make it comfortable, because I think at first someone will say, well, this is impersonal, or it's something, you've got your own notions of what it may mean, only to find that you've got more opportunities, more options. And instead of filling up your calendar with more noise, this is a simplifier. It's a massive simplifier as an augmented resource. Yeah. And that's what I see as a great opportunity. So if you were going to summarize, communicate in Dan's simplifier mode, what this means and why you want it or need it. And you kind of did it right now, but do it again. I just want to hear what comes out of your mouth.
Well, I think the big thing is that what I've noticed is that really effective people, and I've watched myself, and then I've watched hundreds and thousands of other entrepreneurs who I have assisted in a particular way of getting to know themselves better and knowing what they should focus on personally and what they should use other people's capabilities to do that. And I've been at this, for about, to be in 2 years, it'll be 50 years that I've been just on this single focus. And what I've noticed personally is that every time a new technology comes along, I either can use it directly, like Zoom has been a great enhancer for me personally, because I like the medium that we're doing right now, or I've got a very skilled human who's passionate about using this new technology, and then I just communicate with the human and they know my intention, and then they go off and they produce things and I get the benefit. So my choice is either it's something that I don't have to spend any more time learning how to do than turning on the television set, or it's somebody who's really has to have some familiarity with the new technology, and they've discovered all their own shortcuts. So I don't want to have to learn that. I don't have to learn what they've already mastered. I just have to tell them what I want, and then they will do it for me. I was just thinking, Peter Zion said that in the 2-month period between, I was watching him the other day, the 2-month period between October 1st and November 30th, so 2 months, 100,000 the big tech companies laid off 100,000 people. And it wasn't because they were bad or good or anything. It's just that the cost of money has gone way down. For 15 years.
Costs have gone way up, you mean? Yeah.
No, the cost of money has gone way up. And so they can't hire people for 15-year projects and 10-year projects and 5-year projects. They've got to just have people on the payroll that it's next year's projects and the year's projects for that. But these are very, very skilled people with technology, and this may be a new medium for all those skilled programmers and other people used to the tech world to become guides, to GPT, they can become like human instructors in how to use this. In the same way that Google created an enormous amount of learning programs of how to take advantage of Google.
Yes. So I've got two predictions, and that is, so we've had all these layoffs. Now there's a grand divide. So I'm going to do the positive first, which are a lot of people got laid off. They've got an opportunity right now to use this new technology that interestingly came out at about the same time. Because one of the things that ChatGPT can do is write really good code really quickly that fixes itself, And again, if it's used as an augmentation, so a baseline that you write, and then a human goes and tweaks it so it makes it more efficient. So that means software can be created a lot faster. And you combine these new software concepts with the AI, now we're really creating some fantastic platforms, and if you combine it with data. So I think this could be an opportunity for an amazing revolution in Silicon Valley for a whole new wave of software because the talent's available, at least the entrepreneurial ones.
Yeah, now, I don't think that the advantage of Silicon Valley as a geographic location.
None whatsoever. So I'm using it metaphorically.
My feeling is,
I agree.
If you have the internet and you have, one of the next topics I want to talk to you about today is just what's happening to the world right now. And I'll just plug this in that, I've got two things on how smart entrepreneurs can actually take it. You know a lot more about this because you've actually played with it. I haven't played with it yet, and I haven't had any of my projects except you doing a biography of me. That's the only project. Project not bad, by the way, but not bad.
Yeah.
Better than some that my team have written.
Well, that's the thing. You feed in what you got, and it makes it even better. I just say rewrite this and make it funny, and it actually adds. Oh my God, yeah. Keep on going with your thought though about the world.
No, but the thing that I want to say, I just want to show you that knowing yourself is really going to be very, very important to master this technology.
Yes. Okay, so you brought up the second point I wanted to make. So the first point was basically, I think we're at a nexus opportunity for the next big thing to come out of human capital being available, high cost of money, and AI. This thing can bridge that gap and equalize it very, very quickly. Unless you're a basket weaving, politically correct woke person who is working at Twitter and you found out that you have zero value. Okay, that was a big kick. But here's the second part.
You're still on, Mike.
There you go. Yeah, you like that?
You're in a free zone. I can tell right off the bat that this is a free zone,
It is. So here's the big idea, though. What I really learned over the last 3 days. So I had this client here. We did that new business. We launched it. We built all this content. And one of our new mottos is homework sucks and no homework. And what that means is in the old days of agency-like work, our whole model is 3 days, you show up and we do it, we get it done. We build the brand, we build the offer, we create all the content, we create all the launch materials, blah, 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 blah. You walk away and you can do a business, right? And when we added AI, it made it even better. And I think, for example, one of the reasons you love Zoom is Dan shows up, Dan collaborates, Dan goes away, and he's done. Okay,
and it's recorded.
Totally, it's all done. We made a show, and Dan can show up with no agenda, no bullets, other than one idea,
no preparation.
And you do the same thing when you're creating your tools. You get into a group, you collaborate, boom, out comes up. You listen, you simplify, and genius comes out. Now, here's what's different with this, Dan. We can take a transcript from the conversation and say, write a book and a summary in an outbound email based upon this content, and it will literally spit it out.
Can we do
so we're
something
talking about
here? This is being recorded by Otter AI. Is there a possibility that Gord can pull this off and run it through GPT while we're doing this, so we can see?
I'm actually trying to do it right now as we speak. So I'm copying it, and I'll see what it does. And boop, boop, boo, do, 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 do. And I'll see if it lets me copy. Sometimes it won't let you do it in real time, but I'll just tell ChatGPT, and I'll show you the screen. I'll say, take this content or rewrite and simplify this content and turn it into summary bullet points and a email to send to a entrepreneurial business audience. Make it upbeat and funny. Okay.
Yep.
And then I'll paste that in. Let's see how long this is. Okay, it looks like it's most of it. So I just fed it in, and there it goes. Cursor's flashing for our audio friends. Dan Sullivan is the founder of the coaching strategy. He has written numerous books. Okay, Sullivan is involved in charitable film. All right. I don't know if it's producers. Look at that. Divide between their advantage and those who struggle with it. Sullivan advised various technologies, but to stay grounded and focus on. Ugh, that isn't good. All right, so clearly I have to give it better commands.
Yeah. Okay, but it's making a first attempt. You know? And the thing, one of the things, by the way, almost everything it did in my biography above is actually false.
Yeah, and that's probably based upon some old stuff that it found.
No, I belong to none of those organizations.
That's interesting.
Yeah. And I've received none of those awards, and
that's interesting.
I've never been to any of the organizations who gave me the rewards that I didn't receive.
Hence, one of the things that people say about ChatGPT is when it's wrong, it's really wrong, and it's still very convincing.
Yeah. I mean, it was well written, but it must be talking about a different Dan Sullivan. Yeah, and GPT is calling me damn, by the way, DAMN. It's calling me damn. My name's Dan. So. Yeah,
I didn't see any damn in there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's go to the second last paragraph. Damn is also second last sentence.
Okay.
I think.
Okay. I'll.
Yeah. No, I'm not picking things here.
No, it's fine. It needs to help you.
I have to read my stuff that I write, and I have to correct things and anything. So I'm not being.
Let's see. Sullivan, where's damn Sullivan?
No, it's where you come in the GPT stuff. Because, you started
the second blob right here.
Yeah,
I see Dan.
Yeah, there.
I don't see any damn.
Yeah, that's kind of funny.
It may have been the otter was off. If
there it is. It's otter. Damn. Go down a little bit. Yeah, it says "damn" can show up with no.
Yeah, that was otter.
That's for sure. "Damn" can show up with no.
The speech recognition might still have some challenges, but it's getting better.
But you say it's even better in the new one, right?
So Otter uses I don't even know if it's GPT based. It's using a model. I think it's Amazon's tech. But the OpenAI, they've again, I'm deep into looking at all their tools. There's a few systems now where the accuracy is considerably higher and it's multilingual, which has been an ongoing challenge, which is like just decoding accents, deep accents, for example, have been tricky.
Anyway, I feel incredibly positive about going deeper with this and talking to my team about it. And I said, we have to use strategy for all the other technologies that we've ever adapted. We have to use strategy for, Zoom and everything else. And I said, this isn't any different. We can't be people. The only people who are going to be pleased with us, it gives them a break from watching porn. We don't want to attract those type of individuals or utilize them. But I think the big thing I'm getting is that it's almost akin to the people who first got the alphabet, first people who got printing. First people who got photography, the first people, it's got
first people who used wheels. They're like, no, I'm going to continue dragging bricks.
What's funny is the Aztecs had toys with wheels, but they never thought to use them for actual adult conveyances. They actually had toys with wheels on them, and they didn't get they were too busy sacrificing people on the pyramids to when you're over good at certain skills, you sort of ignore new possibilities for other skills, So anyway, I'm really pleased, and I'm really pleased that you gave me your progress report on actually applying this to something that you've already made incredibly simple and incredibly fast, and it's added another another order of productivity to what you were already doing.
Yeah, it's I know just personally experiencing that, witnessing my team going, holy cow, like I watch their wheels spinning, but more importantly, the impact it has on clients. So for their confidence in our capabilities, especially when they witness it in real time, because I think someone who's selfish and scarcity minded would be like, oh, I'm going to keep this behind the scenes. I'm not even going to show anyone what we're doing here because it'll devalue us. And it's in fact a massive enhancer because, again, what I call it a transfer of certainty. If you are a great leader, you want the people who trust in you to feel absolutely confident that when they engage with you, that you absolutely can deliver. And right before we got on today, I was talking to a new client, and I always ask the same question, which is on a scale of 1 to 10, how convinced are you that you're going to engage with this? And, if they say 10, we're going to wire over the money, boom, we're in. Or if it's a 7, why is it a 7? And what can I do to make it a 10? And they'll say, well, here's how we solve the gap. And it's always, I need to see more, or will this work for me? But if someone can observe you solve a problem that they have and they've seen you do it before, you're the best, right? And this closes that gap. Mm-hmm. It closes it so much faster. So I think creating more confidence means speed of execution is higher, and someone sees that you have the right capabilities. Yeah. So, the name of this podcast is more meaningful to me today than it ever has been because of that. Go ahead.
The other thing, I think that this is the death blow to bureaucracies, which have been under pressure ever since the microchip was. And that is that any organization that the first consideration is interpersonal politics, you're not going to get quick adoption of a technology that makes everybody more capable in an unpredictable way. And but I think this again favors smart entrepreneurs, because it was smart entrepreneurs who created this. And so I'm it's very consistent with how I see the world developing, and I just want to show you a couple ideas that I've developed over the last 2 weeks, which I think this actually fits in very well.
I can't wait. So let's that'll be our next episode coming up. So let's wrap this one up. And first of all, I feel like my world is bigger because of what we just talked about today, Dan. I have a lot of new ideas. And as usual, for all of us watching, or you watching, listening to this right now, if you've enjoyed this, go to capabilityamplifier.com, send Dan and I a note. Of course, share this with someone who you think could benefit from this wisdom and knowledge. What would you like to end with, Dan?
Yeah, I just think that you should, first of all, how do they get in touch with this AI bot? Because
sure.
It's free for sign up right now. You have to register to use it, but it's free at this particular time. And I think I think what they're doing is they're using the response to figure out what the business model actually is.
They're doing that. So it's basically they're going to sell time. It'll be based upon either words it produces or cycles it uses. But it's cheap as hell. It's really cheap. And you just go to openai.com and then create an account. And then from there, you use ChatGPT. There's just a link on the site. It's remarkably easy to use. And they give you lots of examples. And in the show notes, I'm going to put some links in there for some. They call them recipes. So it's basically a way to train this with a copy paste to become a dietitian, to become a psychoanalyst, to become a researcher, a journalist, anything you can imagine. This thing can emulate, and you can have it operate in any voice or character you want. So if you wanted to write like Bugs Bunny, it'll do it. If you wanted to say add a lisp, it'll do it. If you wanted to do it in a different language, it'll do it. So it's like, and this thing's learning. So as you use it, you're training it, you're making it better.
I'm going to do 2 examples. I'm going to have one do it like Trump and the other one like Biden.
Oh, yeah. That's a great idea. That's a great idea. Oh, God. Yes. You can say, write this email in the voice of Donald Trump.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if I say, write a biography describing Dan Sullivan from Strategic Coach in the voice of a Donald Trump speech. All right. Let's see what this baby comes up with, because why not? He's the best. Let me tell you. Okay. There we go. I am proud to introduce you, the one and only, the great and powerful Dan Sullivan. Dan Sullivan is a man who needs no introduction, but I'll give him one anyway because he's just that amazing. Dan is the founder and president of Strategic Coach Company, helps entrepreneurs and business leaders achieve their goals and reach their full potential. But Dan is more than just a business leader. He's a visionary.
Born and raised in Canada, but who cares if it's false?
Yeah. Yep. And that's what you do. You tell it to become one of the most respected and sought after coaches in the world. With his no-nonsense approach and his laser-sharp focus on results, Dan has helped thousands of entrepreneurs and business leaders achieve their dreams. He's a master at helping people overcome their limiting beliefs and achieve breakthrough success. So if you're an entrepreneur or business leader looking to take your career to the next level, you can't go wrong with Dan Sullivan. Trust me, he's the best in the business, and he'll help you achieve greatness. Thank you, Dan, for all that you do. You're a true American hero and an inspiration to us all. So anyway, if I told it, rewrite this, but change where Dan was born to, then it would swap that out and remember it.
Yeah. No, I think
that's not too bad.
I think that's really great. Yeah, that impressed me. Yeah. It's pretty funny. Let's do one with Joe Biden in the
Okay. Okay, here we go. Write a biography. This is going to be horribly boring. So let's share the screen. Boom. It's down to the voice of President Joe Biden. Oops. Joe Biden. Okay. All right. Gotta wait for this to finish.
First of all, it's a lot longer.
Yeah. So I had it rewrite. He had it. Okay, please write the great and powerful. All right, here we go. I finished that. So I'm gonna feed it. While it's doing that, when I had it rewrite, it says, in conclusion, Dan Sullivan is a true winner, a man who knows how to succeed in business and in life. If you're looking for someone to help you achieve your full potential, then Dan is the man for the job. Trust me, he'll make America great again. That was funny. Here we go. I am honored to introduce you to the I'm sorry, yeah. The esteemed Dan Sullivan, founder and president of Strategic Coach. Dan is a man who's dedicated his career to helping entrepreneurs and business leaders achieve success and reach their full potential. Then we got the Dan and Ray. It says I had a passion for business and a desire to make a difference in the world.
He's trying to be Donald Trump.
Yeah. After graduating from university, he started his own company and quickly made a name for himself as a successful entrepreneur. But Dan's true calling came when he founded Strategic Coach, a company that provides business coaching and guidance to help individuals and organizations reach their goals. Through his reach out, okay, I'm going to do the last part. Dan is a true leader and a visionary, and I am confident that his work will continue to inspire and empower people for many years to come. Thank you, Dan, for all that you do to make the world a better place. Not bad. Mm-hmm. I'd say it's close to The Voice.
Well, and the other thing is that it's his speechwriter.
Yeah,
it would be his speechwriter. And Trump really writes his own speeches. I mean, he's like Reagan. Reagan was, he actually did his own speeches. Anyway.
Do you mean there's something up there that he chooses to ignore?
The Trump one, it really is almost like you're picking up a cartoon character or something like that, because he is that way.
Yes.
I mean, he brought worldwide wrestling to politics. That's his great achievement, and
you're so right. You're absolutely right. If you haven't seen it, I'll forward it to you. Donald Trump came out with NFTs, NFT trading cards, and the commercial for it is unbelievably, hilariously cartoonish.
Is this a parody or a real thing?
It's real. It's a real thing. And
I'd love to see it.
It's mind-bogglingly hilarious.
Yeah. Okay. Are we still?
We'll wrap this up. We'll call this done. This is the end of the show officially.
It's done.
All right.
Yeah. Get out there and amplify your capability.
Just add GPT-3.
Yeah. Make Mike rich even more.
Yeah. I like that. That's a great way to end a podcast. That's right. I like it. The slogan. All right. See you, everyone.